Hello and welcome to stable number 2 with Divine. And now there you go. Now this is what they would call grumpy, attitude, dangerous, bitch, lots and lots of brands. She is very much like me. That is what I am like underneath. That's what I have to suppress in myself. I have to think about what I say before I say it. I have to think about it, if that makes sense. And if I don't think about it, it could end up in trouble for me. So when it ends up in trouble, like I end up in trouble. So this is another reason for working with horses, because it's life changing, that's what I'm going to say. This horse has changed my life, because that horse is my life. She's my hobby, she's my passion, she's my partner. We have a relationship. See, and this is another thing, right? You should be able to go into a stable with a wheelbarrow, a broom and a shaving fork and do what you need to do without the horse getting too upset, without the horse working with you. We're working as a partnership, so I'm just going to go and scoop this poo. So, she's not losing her mind, is she? No. And I've worked on so many yards where you couldn't go into the stable with a wheelbarrow, a shaving fork and a broom, because they just have they'd melt down. They would literally do everything in their power to try and get out. And then you'd be told, oh no, you don't go in that stable. They should understand that, because we have to work as a partnership. So if you see this attitude that she's got, that's fear-based. And I'll tell you why that's fear-based, because the way that she was handled as a baby, and the way she was handled as a baby, they took her away from mum when she was far too young, sold mum, and then they hand-reared her. The guy that hand-reared her, not a very nice person. The attitude around horses, I'm the boss. South American. Then she went on to another South American's hands. You couldn't touch her rear feet. You couldn't touch her tail, right? And you get this attitude. So, to get her saddled, stubbed her off to a post, tied her off to a post, pulled one of her legs up with a rope, put a saddle on her, let the rope go, and then just let her bronc it out. And that's why I bought her, because I felt very sorry for her, because she was branded as this problem child, I'm going to say, this problem horse, and she wasn't. It was all to do with the human beings that were around her. So I started doing my thing with her, and like I said, this whole thought process. If I show fear to her, she's like, "Oh, I've got you. I'm going to make you move." So if I sort of step into her, see, she'll challenge me, but she moves out of the way. But that puts a little bit like, whoa, you know. But I have to control that. That when that adrenaline comes up, I have to control it. Go, no, you're going to move. You're going to move. You're going to move. You're the one that moves her feet. I'm the one that moves her feet. She doesn't move mine. And it's, as I said, it's a relationship. I put the relationship first with my horses, and think, you know, if I want a lot, I reward a little. So I expect a lot, but I reward a little. And there's so much more to it. As I said, people would interpret this mare so wrong. But like, there you go, I can get her to move off of her mane, look. So I can get her to back up, look. I can get her to go over there. I can get her to come over here. I can get her to move her hind. Move, come on. There you go. Go back. Now that's a working relationship. And you will not believe the amount of yards I've been on where I talk to people about I had one boss that came up to me and was demanding how I got done what I got done with a certain horse. And this other horse is a bit like her, very grumpy. Well, basically, she'd bit the boss and taken the tip of her finger off. So her attitude towards this horse was, this bitch here nearly cost me my career because she was a surgeon, right? Now, I worked out that this horse had problems with human beings, right? She had a foal and I had to work with her. So I'd go in and I'd literally go in and I'd touch her there on the wither and then I'd leave her alone. I'd get on with what I'm doing, she'd look after her baby, and we got a relationship going because everybody else that walked in there was like, hey, get out of it. And she would do what she does. She would like bare her teeth. And one day I went to get this horse and she was right at the top of the paddock on a hill. So I called her and she come cantering down with foal, put head collar on her and let her out. Next thing I know, the boss turns up. It's like, Jason, how did you do that? And I was like, what? Do what? Get her to come down from up there like she did. I said, oh, well, I called her. And she's like, right, don't be sarcastic. I said, I'm not being sarcastic. I said, the long and short of it, she's my business partner. She's my work colleague. We work together. We're in business together. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, she's my work colleague. So we have to have a relationship. And that's how I do it, is put the relationship first. And this woman could not understand what I was talking about. She was telling me to stop being so stupid and being sarcastic towards her. But she demanded to know how I'd got this horse to come to me. But she couldn't open her eyes to the bigger picture. She couldn't understand that I was a groom stroke horseman, yeah, and I work with horses every day. Yeah, I have to have a relationship with every one of those horses to get done what I need to get done. They're not a car, they're not a bike, they're not a machine. They're a living, breathing individual. And it's just so frustrating when you come across people that can't understand this philosophy, this line of thinking, that you only get back what you put in. You only, your horse becomes a mirror. And that's what I kept seeing over and over. And I go on to these yards. I've worked on horse riding yards, school yards. I've worked on domestic yards. I've worked on dressage yards. I've worked on eventing yards. And you see it over and over and over again, where they think that they've got control of this horse and it's completely out of control. That's what I see. Because, you know, I don't use pain to motivate my horses. I use pressure and rhythmic, but I don't use pain. Where so many people in the UK use pain, and that really upsets me. And as I said, they're a fear-based animal. And this attitude that you see here is just fear. That's all it is fear. And like as I said, this camera, huge pressure, especially to a mare like her, right? I've had to teach these horses to deal with this tripod, yeah? So I've had to desensitise them and put it around the place before I could do this. And so if you point a phone at a horse, yeah, it's pressure, like this doorway is and this window. And this is what you've got to remember. We live in square boxes and square windows and rectangular doors. Where is there a square in nature? There isn't. And that's why nature's so good for us mentally, because it's completely opposite to what is creating this pressure in us, that's creating this anxiety, this depression, this hyper-awareness, this anxiety, huge anxiety. It's pressure. And that pressure comes from someone, somewhere, something, because we're worrying about something or someone or somewhere. And I try to learn from my mistakes. If I ball something up, I just look at it and think, you know, what did I learn from it? What can I pull out of that? There is no such thing as failing, because if you fail it and you look at it and think, well, hold on, I learnt this and I learnt this and I learnt that. So you haven't failed, you've succeeded because you've learnt something out of it. When I was training, physically training, it took me a long time to work out if I couldn't do a workout and I failed at it because I didn't have enough energy left, I'd actually won because I'd set the bar real high, couldn't achieve it, but still learnt in that I gave everything I had to give and I had nothing else left to give. So I won. And it's taken me a long time to understand that philosophy. It's like, you're not going to go from 0 to a hero in 60 seconds or 3 minutes. It's going to take your time. Anything that's worth mastering is going to take time. And this is a prime example. This is going to take time. Like, I'm severely dyslexic, right? So this is me stepping into adversity. This is adversity for her. This is uncomfortable. This camera makes her uncomfortable. But the more she gets around it, the more she will deal with it. The more comfortable she will become. Because if you can get horse to look at things like this, like that, they accept it. Now she can go away. Because she came and looked at it. She investigated it. Looked directly onto it like that. Yeah? Now she can move away. So let's just see if it's any easier this time. See? There you go. Look, she looks at it. Even gave it a sniff. Now she can go away. And that is how you should be able to have a relationship with a horse. If a horse is pushing all over you and barging all over you, there's something seriously wrong. And that's either coming from you as an individual because you're anxious, and that's the problem, that we as human beings go, oh no, I'm not anxious, I've got it all under, we're liars. Horses don't lie. If they know that you're anxious, they will use it. But if you're going to cover it up with aggression and become a bully, they will eventually learn to fight back. And if you're sat on their back, if they buck, rear, whatever, they can kill you. And if it ain't all in order on the ground, how do you expect it to be in order on the back? You can't. So anyway, there's a bit of a waffle and update about Divine. So you should go down here. Look, she should pick her foot up. Look, there. Your horses should work with you, not against you. And that's why I'm going down this path of sharing you my lifestyle, because I can't seem to get average horse people to understand what I'm trying to, not sell, just explain to make the horse's life better. Because I can't work in the industry anymore because it upsets me too much, because of just doping, beating, abuse, and the list goes on and on and on. And I'm not going to go down that path at the moment because we're in early days. So anyway, at that, let's move on to Polida in stable 3.